Once a year, financial planners from across the country stop everything and invest in themselves. That moment is FPA Summit, taking place November 9th through the 11th at the Gaylord National Resort in National Harbor, Maryland. It's where you'll experience incredible speakers, real strategies, and real connections. Find out more and register at fpasummit.org. Registration closes October 23rd. We hope to see you there. Hey everyone, and welcome back to FPA Live, where we have conversations with interesting people doing interesting things in and out of financial planning. I'm Ben Lewis from the Financial Planning Association, and every conversation about the great wealth transfer sounds exactly the same. Get ready, prepare your firm, and don't get caught off guard when the money moves. Here's what nobody's saying out loud. By the time that money actually moves, the decision about who keeps it has usually already been made. And it was made years earlier in a client meeting most of you have sat through 100 times without thinking twice about. One spouse talks, the other nods along. That's not a quirk, that's a relationship gap. And relationship gaps are how planners lose accounts they never knew were at risk. Joining me today are Dr. Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen, partners at Purse Strings LLC. They spent their careers studying exactly this, the relationship side of wealth most of the industry treats as an afterthought. And they're here to make the case that your next million in AUM might already be sitting across the table from you right now. We're going to look into what relationship gaps look like, the questions you should be asking both spouses starting at your very next meeting, and how to build trust before life forces the issue for you. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let me bring in Maggie and Barb. Barb and Maggie, how are you?
Great.
It's good to see you. I appreciate you taking a little time to join us here on FPA Live.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. So look, I want to kind of just kick things off. I mean, Purse Strings, we were all introduced through some common friends and acquaintances.
Yeah.
Why don't you just tell everyone a little bit more about Purse Strings and the work that you're doing?
Sure. So Purse Strings provides women free financial tools, resources, information, knowledge, skill to make smart financial decisions. And we give them access to a directory of vetted financial professionals who are uniquely equipped to serve women. And what we also do is we educate financial professionals how to reach, engage, and earn the female dollar.
That's great. And now, Barb, I mean, for you specifically, I mean, you've got a doctorate in education and a
Mhm.
background that's really not the typical path into
Yeah.
financial services, let alone financial planning. How did you end up focused on the relationship side of wealth rather than the technical side?
So as an adult educator, I spent a lot of time consulting inside financial industries. I had my own consulting practice, Provo Consulting, where I worked across many, many different financial institutions. And at all of them, I could see that everything was fairly vanilla. Nothing uniquely differentiated serving the women's market, nothing in the marketing materials, nothing in the products, nothing even in the conversations. And I kept bringing up to leadership, wow, I think you're really missing a market. Women don't buy that way. Nothing here shows anything that's geared towards women. And, when you think about it, Ben, this was over 20 years ago. And they just looked at me
Mhm.
like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think we're doing just fine. And I saw it everywhere I went. So I thought, darn it, I'm going to have to build this myself because, going through my own divorce and then also meeting women of my age range going through
Mhm.
divorce, they were having questions. What should I keep the house? Do I need life insurance? Foundational questions that most women should know. So I thought, it's interesting that these women who are bright, smart, educated women don't have this kind of financial foundation. And then, after my divorce, Maggie and I would go shopping at the grocery store, at Costco, and we'd see women of retirement age doing these menial jobs. And I just stopped
Mhm.
dead in my tracks because I thought I saw it in the work that I was doing. No one's focusing on women. I saw it in my peer group. They didn't have a lot of financial literacy. And then I saw these women who were still um, doing these menial tasks. So it helped me investigate it further. And I commissioned a researcher to answer two questions. One was, Are women prepared for their financial future?
Mhm.
And is the industry preparing women for their financial future? And that's when I pulled Maggie in. So Maggie, you can take it from there.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
held
gonna guess real quick that the answer was no on both of those.
No and no.
Yeah,
Go
it was
ahead,
a
Maggie,
hard
sorry.
no all the way around. The insurance and financial industry actually won the award for being least sympathetic to women, and women were woefully underserved for their financial futures. And when I was just described, like having, we know what the data says, we see what we see around us, like what are these women saying? And the fact that they would just say, my financial professional didn't even look at me. Even if they do look at me, they give me like, oh, don't worry, sweetheart. And I was like, wow, like retirement, you got one go at, and we're giving this one go to someone who doesn't look at me. Like I'm mad when the cashier doesn't look at me, and that's just a weekly grocery shop. Like, and so we knew from that point, women take care of everybody else. We knew this great wealth transfer was coming, and so we wanted to make sure this money really transfers over well and works with women, or women work with professionals who really are there, respect them, will explain things, won't belittle them, all those different things. And that's kind of how Purse Strings was born.
Yeah, well, in my house, my wife deals with all of the financial stuff.
Awesome.
I'm completely clueless in my house on
No, you got
anything.
the reverse.
It's the exact reverse. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd be the one just nodding along in
That's
those
interesting.
meetings. So,
Yeah.
uh, so Maggie, I do want to kind of focus on you a little bit more because,
Okay.
I guess like what was the moment with a client or in your own career that made you realize that the wealth transfer conversation that people are having was missing something?
It was really like these women who, would tell their stories about how they're more or less, sometimes screwed over by their spouse and or their financial partner just because they've never been in the conversation. All of a sudden it's like a divorce, and there's the 401k that we all thought was there was now empty. These credit cards were taken
Mhm.
out in our names that are now as our debt, which was just really eye-opening to me. And when I went to college and I was working on my MBA, I was like, okay, I can do like a big company's P&L, but like I don't know my own finances, which was
Mhm.
interesting. And I'm very educated in this area now. And I had like a roommate who never sat down and had the conversation of like, okay, if we go to this school and get these loans or like scholarships, like it'd be this much at the bottom line, right? And I was like, wow, people aren't having these conversations. And so just kind of all those things stacked up, I could really see that education gap in finances. And knowing that this wealth transfer was coming, I just wanted to make sure it was really maximized because a lot of change can happen with money, good or bad, and I want to make sure it's a positive change.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to get into some other questions here, because again, I think that the work that you guys are doing is not only fascinating but it's important. So, I mean, purse strings is specifically built around this idea that
Mhm.
relationships transfer before the assets do.
Yeah.
I guess where does that core belief kind of come from in your work, and why do you think so few firms are built like around that idea?
Okay, so the financial industry was built on a male model, and I get it, right? So it was built by men for men to sell to men. And frankly, that model really has not changed.
Hmm.
And really, we challenge the industry to look outside their walls and look at how much the demographics have changed around them, and they have not adapted. We know as we held these focus groups and gathered so much data from women, what they told us about their experiences working with financial professionals was criminal. I'm not kidding you. I mean, and every day, Ben, I get, you know, I read data, I read LinkedIn
Hmm.
posts, I have conversations with women who say exactly that. My financial professional never asks me any questions, never looks at me, not there's no engagement going on. And it's women are relationship people, right? They
Hmm.
build circles of relationships. They are the go-to person in the household that usually knows the neighbors, right? And sets the dinner plans and knows what PTA when the PTA is coming up. They're all relationship based. And yet they sit in these rooms where they're not even looked at. The chair is not turned, no, and it's not addressed to them. And here's what really drives us crazy is when we talk to financial professionals, they all say to us, I'm really good with women.
Yeah.
It
It doesn't
it's
make
stunning.
it doesn't make any sense, especially considering that when you think of what at the heart of what being a really exquisite financial planner or financial advisor is, it's a relationship business.
It's
So,
yes.
so I guess
And
where's that disconnect?
part of it, I think, is at the forefront of some of these big firms. Some of their KPIs is how much business did you close? You had one meeting. Why aren't they closed yet?
Right.
And women, we take a little bit longer, but once we're in and locked in, we're loyal, And so stop looking at, did you close today? And like, okay, there's of course a period amount of time you got to close in, but how long are those clients staying with you? Because if you're having year-over-year turnover, that's not success. But women, we'll take a little bit longer, but then we'll be in 2 feet first, right? And we'll be those loyal clients, and we'll be praising your name all over the place. And
Right.
so part of it is just from that get-go is like, how are we measuring success? And we can't rush those relationships because women don't purchase that way. Money is emotional. It's not this just quick transaction. And so we have to treat it like, it is this caring thing. And I think everyone's kind of seeing money and like behavioral finance, the emotions with money stories are really coming to the rise. It's less about beating ROI, beating the market and what's the ROI, but
Right.
like, am I good? Am I protected? Those are women's main questions. And so when you come at me of like, I'm beating the market, what does that mean to me though? Like, how
Right.
does that, what do those numbers mean? I don't know. Does that mean I should go get a job again or no? Like, it doesn't add up.
Yeah. I mean, so to what you were saying before is that there's this disconnect. Planners and advisors say that they are treating both people equally, but the reality is that they're not. I guess so. For a planner sitting back and watching this right now, I mean, what are those signs that they should be looking for that lets them know whether or not they're actually engaging with both partners equally in those conversations?
I would say look at the last conversation you had with a couple and
Hmm.
think about that and write down what were her goals? What are her wishes? What does she want in her financial future? Can you describe what that is? What's important to her? Do you know her children's names? Does she work? Where does she work? What does she do? What kind of money does she earn? What does she like to do in her off time? And if you can't answer any of those questions, you don't know her or anything about her or what she wants or needs. And women will age alone, will age solo,
Hmm.
and she comes to the table not wondering what her return on investments are all the time. She wants to know, am I okay? Am I going to be okay? And what does okay look like for her? Okay might be, am I going to be okay to travel the world like I want to do when I retire? Am I going to be okay to go move to, Florida and,
Hmm.
live by my daughter and roll around on the floor with my grandchildren? What does okay look like? And if you can't describe what that is for her, then you've totally missed the mark.
It's funny. As you were talking, all I could think about is my grandmother. My grandfather passed away in 1980. I was 7 years old at the time, but I remember because she had this big group of friends, and she was playing bridge, and she was having like margarita parties and all stuff. And which all she, I mean, remember, all she really wanted to do is she wanted to go on these bridge cruises with her girlfriends, and
Yeah.
and she was set up for it because there were people there kind of working with her. But it's just, I
Yeah.
just had this picture of my grandmother in my head with her going on
Well,
her
and
bridge.
it's different for everybody, but yeah, good for her.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would love to be able to do that. I know my wife would love to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but look, I think people learn by real examples. I mean, you guys have been working with planners. I mean, as you're working with them, like, what have you actually seen up? Like, can you give us an example of like a situation? You don't have to name names or anything. We're not into that. But I mean, can you give us a good example of like what you've seen in a planning firm where there was that gap in terms of how they were treating the
I can
the
give you
client?
we've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women, and they've told us the real life stories. And I have a dear friend, she's a psychologist, her husband is an orthodontist, and she's like, "Oh, we go to my husband's guy." They went to school together. I mean, and she's like, "And, I love my husband, we go to his guy." She's like, "The last time we were there, the guy was saying, "Are you a spender?" to her. "Are you a spender?" Because, like my wife, those credit cards, she's spending money all day long, blah, 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 blah. And my friend said, I was appalled at how he was dissing his own wife in the conversation that we were having about our finances. And she's
Mhm.
like, the minute my husband dies, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
up with that?
Yeah. It's
Or
crazy.
this happens a lot, women who ask questions and they're told this, "Don't worry about it, honey. We'll take care of it." It's criminal.
That
I
makes
mean,
them feel empowered.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, or listen to. I mean, it's so,
Right.
it's terribly insulting.
It really is. So I guess for any planners out there right now who are watching this and listening to the sage advice of Dr. Barb and Maggie, if they want, if they're in their next client meeting, if I'm a planner and I have a meeting coming up later on today, and I'm sitting with two partners, and one of the partners is not talking, isn't engaged, what do you think is a good question or a good way to approach that to actually encourage the other person to start to talk?
I can take this one unless you have.
Go for it.
I think you need to turn your chair and look directly at the woman and say, "Boy, Mrs. So-and-so, I am so interested in your thoughts and your ideas around your retirement. What does it look like for you?" Ask an open-ended question. Give it the pause. She might just say, "I don't know. No one's ever asked me," or she might give you the answer, or there might be a big pregnant pause, which you don't fill in. You just
Mhm.
wait and let them respond. And then oftentimes, you explain to the couple, "Here's what's important for both of you to know. Statistically, men die first. So what's most important at this meeting is that Mrs. So and so understands exactly where the money's at, and what the investments are that the both of you decide on together, because it's going to impact her more than it will probably impact you."
Yeah. I didn't know, Maggie, if you had anything else that you wanted to say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be really giving that space to let her kind of express her wants, her thoughts, her feelings. Because as Barb and I were kind of preparing for this, I thought of my aunt who she loves to travel. She loves to go around the world on a cruise, on a flight. It doesn't matter. Her husband, he has no desire to do that, and they are totally fine doing it separately. But if they made a plan to his retirement goals, it would just be
Mhm.
swimming in the pool and going to a couple baseball games, which is not the same budget as hers. And so it's so important to have, what are those and how are those different? And that's okay. But how do we plan for both of those things? Because if you're just listening to his, she is not going to be a happy camper. And
Right.
so it's really knowing what both of their goals are independently as well as a couple, because I think so often we're seen as one, and yeah, we might be a couple, but we're still two unique individuals, and we have to plan for those separately.
Sounds like your aunt and my grandmother would have been very chummy.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Up to no good.
Up to no good, it would have been it. All right. So, Barb, you alluded to this before because you talked about death, right? And let's face it, transitions aren't just focused on death, but for a lot of women, it's divorce, it's retirement, and so on. Does the playbook change, or is it the same trust building work under just a different trigger, I guess?
So, the stats are 70 to 80% of women will leave their financial advisor during widowhood and the first year of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want financial professionals to know is, would you be the first call if there was a death or divorce? Or would you be an afterthought? And that's important to really think about, because that's why women leave. They're not thinking about calling their financial professional, and the playbook really changes because, they're both very emotional times, but they're very different. They're emotional for different reasons. So, as the population ages, the average age of a widow, do you know what that is, Ben?
I have no idea.
What would you guess?
75. I know I'm probably way off.
59.
That doesn't
And
make me
that's
feel good about my own household and where my
Well, you know what? And it's in a lot of widows who we talk to, they say, "Well, it's probably younger than that." That's what they've seen. And so you need to consider that. Women are the average age is 59, that's young. And then
Really young.
the great divorce, which is happening at 3 times the rate. Those are couples who've been married. My friend who got divorced, 40 years she was married. Many, many couples, 50s and 60s, who've been married for a long period of time, getting divorced. Now they're stepping into their financial future. So there's a lot of demographic changes that are happening, and I argue that the financial professional is no longer someone who's investing your money.
Hmm.
They're the orchestra leader that's looking at what's happening in your life, what money's
Right.
coming in, going out, Social Security, taxes, children going to school, 529 plans, divorce, death, inheritance. All of these things are happening, and they really need to be the person that oversees and is the go-to person for that couple or that woman or whomever. Should any of these transitions take place, they should be the first call. Are they engaged enough and built a relationship enough that they would be the first call?
Yeah. So one of the things I think is important to highlight here is it's about being genuine in your interaction. It's one
Yeah.
thing just to be nice to somebody,
Mhm.
but being nice isn't being genuine, right? And so yeah, I guess what guidance would you give planners about really bringing more of a genuine interest and desire to actually build that relationship versus just engaging in idle chit chat and being nice to to the woman in the relationship.
I think it is more about asking, again, seeing them as separate people and not just like, that's my husband's guy, but it's our financial partner. You want to see them like, oh yeah, they're my financial advisor as well, not just our families. And so really engaging in those deeper conversations of, what is keeping you up at night? Do you see caregiving in your future? What are kind of your priorities? Really knowing her as a unique individual, I think is important. And yeah, I mean, just treating her again, like with respect, just like anybody else, but making sure, she feels seen, she feels heard, her needs are known, not just as a broad overview of like, well, your families, the Smiths want this. It's like, no, Mary wants this and Joe wants this. And really seeing them as unique individuals.
Hmm.
And I would add to that, a really good tickler file. Something that really captures what's unique and different. We have a financial professional, and, I always talk about examples when I teach, and she's like, where I purchase my car, they'll wash it for me. I'll just go through and they'll wash it for me. And every time they give me my car back, there's a Red Bull in my cup holder because they know that's what I drink. And she's like, I'll never go anywhere else. So it's like, what do you know that's unique and different that would like spark like, wow, that was cool. Or he really remembered me. Or I'm not just another number, but I'm really, somebody that they know.
Right. So one of the things that you guys talk about is that the next million in AUM is already sitting across the table. Now, again, perfecting your communication, showing genuine care, and engaging is one thing, but realizing that doing that can actually lead to more business development opportunities, securing more assets, building another client. I mean, how does a planner recognize that that is a person who's sitting across the table from them compared to somebody else? I don't know if I'm asking the question the right way.
Well, the
I'm,
reason we say, oh, go ahead, Max.
well, I was going to say, the reason we kind of say that is because we want that wealth to stay with you as the advisor. So having her just leave when her husband passes is you losing those assets. But when she's a happy client, first, she'll probably get an inheritance from her family. That's typically, we see it, from her family. And so that will help grow your book. But when a happy woman, think about how much your wife does talking. When we are happy, we tell everybody and their brother.
Hmm.
And so women give 26 times more referrals than men. So those referrals are exploding as well. But then you can really work on bringing in that next gen. And like, if your parent is really happy with somebody and they bring in you as well, this is going to be my, um, you know, the person who's going to be taking care of my finances after me. This is who it's going to be handing down to. And you start building a relationship with them, all that money stays with you. So it's about just keeping on to what you have, but then she will help spread that word of all the great work that you're doing as well. And so it's not always about gathering more, from new clients, but really working on retaining the ones that you have, especially as this population ages, because a lot of money is in movement. A lot of it could be walking out the door really quickly. But there's also a lot of possibility for more to be given to you through that inheritance, through a spouse passing, and then through that next generation.
I think that's really interesting because as I was thinking about, preparing for all of this, I was just thinking about the person literally sitting across the table. But to your point, Maggie, women refer at a higher rate. That's the opportunity, right? You're actually by taking the time and creating that genuine relationship with the woman who's sitting across the table is going to lead to more potential referrals for you.
Especially when it's like a little above and beyond, where it's like, oh, I was able to sit with Ben and he helped me figure out like my mom's health insurance because, she fell and she's in this nursing home. And so, yeah, when you're, since your mom's going through that, I'm sure Ben is happy to help you with that. He helped that with me. Okay, great. Now that I have someone who could help me find my mom's nursing home, you just ton of inheritance right there. You know what I mean? Just those little things add up. And so knowing that you're that resource, that you're that go-to, like Barb talked about, is essential to be seen that way.
First of all, for the record, everybody, you don't want me helping you on insurance.
You just got a good name to throw in there.
Just for the record, nobody should be calling me, hey, can you help me get... I'm a communications, I'm a PR guy, so I'm not a financial planner. So in the limited time that we have remaining, I do have a couple quick final questions. I want you guys to kind of share a little bit more information about purse strings. I'll be able to get in touch with you. Everyone's hearing about the great wealth transfer. It's along with AI and a couple other things. It's what people are talking about, right? Because we're not even on the cusp of it.
Right.
It's happening now.
Yep. Right.
What do you want planners listening to right now to unlearn about the great wealth transfer? Ruminate on it for a second here.
Yeah. To unlearn, well, that the money's just going to come right to them, ching, 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 you know what I mean? And stay there, it's just going to come in and stay there. It's actually going to walk out the door is what it's going to do. Women they're done, they're really being done with being treated the way that they've been treated. Women have said, I feel like prey. Who wants to feel like that, right?
Right.
And do they, women, they'll always say, well, do women want to work only with women advisors? Well, here's the deal. Only 17 or 18% of advisors are women. So there's still a lot of men in the industry. And really, women want to work with those people who get them, communicate to them, understand them, make time for them, return their phone calls, answer their questions, give them some good ideas, are their go-to person. So no, it's not just women looking for other women. Some, yes, but not all, for sure. And the fact that just because the money's transferring and they think they're good with women because they're raising daughters, or they're good with women for some reason or other that is not anything to do with how they're actually building unique and different relationships with them in an ongoing manner.
I'm raising 2 teenage daughters, and I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. They're awesome. They're fantastic. One's almost 19, one's now 16. They keep life interesting. Anyway, all right. So before we get to the little wrap up here for you guys, for any planners out there who are listening right now, what's the one action or the one thing that you want to encourage them to do the moment they get off of this live stream in their practices with their next client meeting?
Barb, go ahead.
I want them to think about their top 10 women or couple clients and write down what they know about her goals, her desires, where she works, her children, what they remember about the last conversation they had with her. Is she a person that would reach out and call him if she had a
Mhm.
question directly? What kind of relationship do they have with them? And see what it reveals for you. I think it would tell you if you really have engaged with and made a distinct relationship with that woman, or you may not know much about her.
That's great. I don't know, Maggie, if you have anything else that you want to add on to this or
No, I would just kind of, yeah, think about that client. And then the next time you're really in the conversation, make sure, you turn your chair to her and make sure she feels seen and heard on her goals, her worries, all of those different things as an individual person.
it's great. So, as we wrap up here, I want to give you guys the opportunity to share a little bit more about purse strings, where people can get in touch with you, how they can learn more about the work that you're doing with financial planners. Have at it.
Yeah, so they can check us out at purstrings.co. We have a lot of great education for financial planners that earn CE credits. So that's a workshop that we run every month, which is a great opportunity for those who are already doing unique and great things to serve the female market. We do have a membership opportunity as well to be promoted to our communities of women, and always love to be connected on LinkedIn, especially with Dr. Barb, but she's always sharing some fun TT things. And then we'd love to see you at the FPA Summit as well and meet you eyeball to eyeball in person from, not behind the screen, but in person. Would also be wonderful as well in November.
That's awesome. Yeah, I neglected to mention that at the very beginning. Barb and Maggie are both going to be joining us at FPA Summit. You saw a little promo
Mhm.
here at the very beginning.
Yeah.
FPA Summit, November 9th through the 11th at the Gaylord National Harbor here in the DC area. It's going to be awesome. Registration's open. People can go to fpasummit.org to learn more, and they can join Maggie and Barb in their terrific session. So
Yeah.
anyway, so for both of you, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to be here on FPA Live. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the relationship that we forged here over the last
Yeah.
few months, and looking forward to seeing where we can take it to help support not only the planners but the women who are entrusting those planners to do good work for them. So thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ben.
Excellent. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, let me go ahead and excuse Barb and Maggie. Again, that was Barb and Maggie with Purse Strings. Go learn more about them, pursestrings.co. Again, pursestrings.co. They're doing some really outstanding work with planners to help them engage more women in their planning work. So I cannot recommend them enough. So again, pursestrings.co. And again, in the upcoming social clips and promotions, we'll make sure we put a link to their website in there. In the meantime, I also want to remind you that all of the FPA Live episodes, including this one, are available on fpahub.org. That's fpahub.org. This episode will be up in the library within the next 24 hours or so, and we'll be doing some various social and stuff to kind of promote it. So anyway, I hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to join us here in FPA Live, and we will see you next time.